Hi guys, and welcome back to Clubit with me, Amy. We've decided in this video who better to look at than Jon Snow himself. I mean, if we're still calling him that. We see Jon Snow, the black sheep of the family, on his journey from the Night's Watch to beyond the wall and finally beside Daenerys. So let's see where it all began. Season 1, we see Jon Snow, Ned Stark's bastard, constantly feeling alone and unwanted, disrespected by Catelyn Stark. After being excluded from the royal feast, he is frustrated but meets Tyrion, who knows all too well what it's like to be an outcast. Before his fathers depart to the south, Jon tells him he wants to join the Night's Watch. Jon says his goodbyes and leaves to the wall.
You might not have my name, but you have my blood.
Not without giving Arya a gift. Jon soon finds out that the wall is not full of noble warriors, but a dumping ground for criminals. He humiliates his fellow recruits with his fighting skills.
You sure you want to do this?
No.
Jon offers to help train the recruits and befriends Samwell Tarly. Jon finishes his training and swears his oath. Jon saves Lord Commander Mormont's life. He rewards him with his Valyrian steel sword. After hearing of the death of his father, he decided he must leave Castle Black to join his brother Robb to seek vengeance. But his mind is changed by his brothers, who tell him the war against the White Walkers is more important. He accompanies the men beyond the
I will
wall.
command them myself. So I'll only ask you once, Lord Snow. Are you a brother of the Night's Watch, or a bastard boy who wants to play at war?
In Season 2, Jon begins his exploration beyond the wall in search for Benjen. After walking through several abandoned wildling villages, they arrive at the home of Craster. After he tells them he has not seen Benjen, he tells them of a meeting with the king beyond the wall, Mance Rayder. Jon learns that Craster has been sacrificing his children to the White Walkers. Craster spots him spying and knocks him out before dragging him back to his keep. Jon joins Corryn to find Mance Rayder. They locate the Wildling Watchers and ambush them. He is ordered to kill Ygritte, a Wildling girl, but when left alone to kill her, he is unable to do so. She escapes, but he recaptures her, but ends up separated from his brothers. Jon is ambushed and taken captive. After being brought to the Lord of the Bones, Jon learns that Corryn has been captured. He tells him to become a spy amongst the Wildlings. Corryn begins to insult Jon, which leads to Jon killing him, gaining the Wildlings' trust. They arrive at the camp. Season 3, we see Jon being led into the tent of Mance Rayder. He embarrasses himself before being told to stand as no one kneels. He is praised for killing Corryn. Jon tells him he wants to be free of the wall, but Rayder doesn't believe him.
I want to be free. No, I don't think so.
He then tells him of the sacrifices of Craster's children and how he didn't agree that the Night's Watch didn't stop it. Mance believes Jon and sends him to get a new cloak. Jon marches south with Mance. Jon has his first encounter with a warg. They learn of an attack on the Night's Watch from the White Walkers, but the only thing left is dead horses. Mance tells Jon those who have died are no longer his friends and brothers, but undead monsters who serve the White Walkers. Mance orders Tormund to scale the wall at Castle Black from his exposed rear, distracting the Watch while Mance attacks the north side, putting Jon's loyalty to the test. Jon reluctantly feeds the Wildlings information about the Night's Watch. Jon and Ygritte share a moment in a cave. While scaling the wall, they are both nearly dropped before Jon saves them both. Jon tries to spare the life of a horse breeder. His loyalty is questioned and he is in battle with Orell. Jon flees on a horse, not before Ygritte shoots him 3 times with an arrow before he barely makes it back to the wall. On to Season 4. Jon is still recovering from the wounds he has been given by Ygritte. He is told of what has happened at the Red Wedding and decides it's probably best for him to stay at the wall rather than seek revenge. Jon is almost beheaded due to killing Corryn Halfhand, leaving with the Wildlings and even sleeping with one. However, Aemon comes to his rescue and Jon can keep his head. Jon soon becomes a target for the Boltons as he is the son of Ned Stark and could hold a potential risk to the hold on the north. Jon is informed of how a village close by has been raided by the Wildlings and they are coming for Castle Black. Jon trains new recruits to help fight the Wildlings, however Jon isn't in charge, he is just a steward. They attack at night, taking the mutineers by surprise. Jon kills Carl Tanner. Jon tries to offer advice on how to stop the Wildlings, but Sir Alistair won't listen. Jon notices the Wildlings ahead and prepares for their arrival. Jon takes command of the wall's defences. The Battle of Castle Black begins. Jon witnesses Ygritte's death and holds her in his arms. Jon decides to go out and capture Mance's raider. While drinking with Mance, Stannis arrives at the camp, killing many of the wildlings. Jon finishes the season with taking Ygritte's body north of the wall and burning her in the woods. Season 5, we see Jon bend the knees to Stannis. He questions if Jon wants to avenge his half-brother's death. He says he is a sworn brother of the Night's Watch, but Davos questions his loyalty and his time spent with the wildlings. Stannis wants Jon to retake the north with the help of the wildlings. Stannis wants Mance to bend the knee and swear his loyalty. Mance refuses to kneel to anyone and is burnt on the pyre. As he burns, Jon puts an arrow through his heart to stop his suffering. Jon is offered Lord of Winterfell, but he refuses. Sam nominates Jon as the third candidate, which results in him becoming the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. Jon orders Janos to man and repair Greyguard, a ruined castle. He refuses 3 times and insults Jon. He must take matters into his own hands and beheads Janos. Tormund tells Jon the remainder of Mance's army fled back to Hardhome. Jon suggests that Tormund go and negotiate with their chief, letting them through the wall on Jon's terms. They arrive in Hardhome. Tormund kills the Lord of Bones and they enter the hut to speak with the leaders. 5,000 agree to leave with them, but as they are boarding the boats, they are attacked by the Whites. Jon kills a White Walker with his Valyrian steel sword. Jon rushes back to his boat and sets off. The Whites are unable to follow due to the water. The Night King appears and raises the dead. He arrives back at Castle Black with the wildlings. Ollie tells Jon that he must follow him as one of the wildlings know where his uncle Benjen is. He is greeted by a gathering of his watch brothers to find a sign marked traitor. They all stab Jon while uttering "for the watch." While Jon is kneeling for breath, Ollie steps forward and stabs him in the heart. In season 6, we weren't expecting Jon to still be around, even if it is his dead body. His brothers move into the quarters and let Ghost protect him. Thorne threatens us, trying to protect Jon's body. Davos asks Melisandre for help. She performs a ritual with his body, but it doesn't seem to be working. Everyone leaves in frustration, just leaving Ghost with Jon. He awakens, gasping for air. Jon walks out into the courtyard to the surprise of everyone. The leaders of the mutiny are rounded up for execution and Jon cuts the trapdoor. Technically free of his vows, Jon passes his cloak and command to Ed and declares his intent to leave the Night's Watch.
What do you want me to do with this?
Wear it. Burn it. Whatever you want. You have Castle Black. My watch is ended.
Jon prepares to leave and his half-sister Sansa arrives at Castle Black. Jon receives a letter from Ramsay Bolton declaring he will kill Rickon if Sansa is not returned to him. Jon rallies up his troops in order to prepare for battle against the Boltons. Rickon is killed running towards Jon and the battle commences. Jon and his army take back Winterfell after the Boltons retreat. After almost killing Ramsay, Jon sends him to be locked up. Jon is named King in the North. To kick off season 7, Jon starts by training all of his able-bodied men in combat to prepare for battle with the Night King. Also ordered every woman and girl to be trained. He makes a demand that Dragonglass is found to kill the White Walkers. He also forgives the houses that betrayed him. Jon travels to Dragonstone for his first meeting with Daenerys, but also to collect the Dragonglass that's there. When arriving, they are told to surrender their weapons. Jon is shocked at the sight of a dragon. He refuses to bend the knee to Dany and she reminds him how valuable her army will be. Jon and Dany take a tour of Dragonstone. Jon and his men head out on a mission to find a White. Dany intervenes when the battle becomes too much and loses one of her dragons. Jon nearly drowns in the cold water. He manages to pull himself out, but he is all alone. He is saved by his uncle Benjen, who tells him to flee on a horse while he buys him some time. Jon awakes on the ship and finds Dany looking over him. He calls her his queen, ultimately bending the knee. Jon and Dany become very close. Everyone makes their way to Cersei to inform her about the threat from beyond the wall. After Cersei demands that Jon keeps the truce, Jon says he can't serve 2 queens as he has already bent the knee to Dany. Cersei storms out demanding that she will leave them to fight the undead alone, and then she will deal with the winner. So season 8 is going to be a real test for Jon and his army. I'm sure Jon will be right beside his army on the front line against the undead, but also the south. Hopefully we will see Jon to the end and he learns more about his family. Don't forget to like and comment and we can bring you more of these videos. Thanks guys.